morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly roundup. It's the week approaching Memorial Day weekend, and we want to all remember what Memorial Day is really about. It's really about remembering all those people that served in our armed forces, in any capacity, but especially this Memorial Day with what's going on and everything. And with that, we're going to have Sergeant Jerry. Can you take it away and do your thing, Sergeant
morning,
Jerry,
Michele.
and give those people what's their due?
Thank you. I hope, first of all, I hope you're staying safe. I hope everybody's staying safe during this quarantine, during this COVID crisis. Since our last episode, we've been informed by the Officer Down Memorial page that some more officers in the United States have died in the line of duty, and we're gonna read those names now like we do every week. They are Officer Richard McCoy of the United States Department of Homeland Security, and he died on May 3rd, 2020 of COVID-19. Officer Omar Palmer, he's also of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. He died on May 4th, May 4th, 2020 of COVID-19. Corrections Officer Jesse Wayne Bolton of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He died on May 8th of COVID-19. Corrections Officer Maria Mendez. She's also of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. She died on May 9th of COVID-19. Corrections Supervisor George Bernie Robert of the Kansas Department of Corrections died May 11th of COVID-19. Sergeant Charles Rob Roberts, Glen Ridge, New Jersey Police Department. I know a lot of people who are friends with this guy. He died on May 11th of COVID-19. Corrections Supervisor Beresford Anthony Morse of the Washington State Department of Corrections died May 17th of COVID-19. And the final officer we're memorializing here today is Deputy Sheriff Wyatt Mazer of the Boonville County Sheriff's Office in Idaho. He died on May 18th. He was struck by a police vehicle accidentally at the scene of a police incident. Those officers have died since the last time we recorded an episode. We got this information from the Officers Down Memorial page. It's odmp.org. It's a great resource for law enforcement or anybody for that matter. And we remember those officers who died. A lot of them of COVID. That was pretty depressing to read that, quite frankly, Michele. That was rough.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. Everybody is, again, the weather is getting nicer and everybody wants to go outside and do whatever. And that's great, but we can still do that, but you have to be smart about it, and because people who know somebody that have had it, whether or not they survived or maybe just had it to not a very larger degree, you know what, they'll tell you it's not fun to have, and they don't, and there's too many ifs. So I get annoyed when I see like they had a gym owner in New Jersey, that just opens up and he doesn't care. I'll take the $2,000, just stop being an idiot, and then it's like, and again, this doesn't represent everybody. It's a small portion of the community, but it's always like that's what makes news. The people who comply don't make news. That would be too,
Right.
Maybe we should start showing that.
Yeah, I find this whole thing, and I don't want to make it too political at all, but I was talking to someone earlier today before we got on the air, and I was like, if this had happened last year, or if it had happened next year, we'd probably have a completely different scenario going on. But because it's a presidential election cycle, and really both parties are guilty of this, everybody's just trying to make this about the decisions that are being made and the leadership and so forth. And, I honestly think that everybody, from top to bottom, Democrat or Republican, everybody has made good decisions and they've made horrible decisions. And I think that's the nature of the beast. Nobody had ever lived through this before. nobody had any kind of context to put this into. And it was, everybody was just trying to do the best they could. And now, of course, everybody's trying to say that for whatever party you like, that my guys made the best decisions and the other guys made the horrible decisions. And that's just not the truth. Everybody's made good and bad decisions in this thing. And I think we should just recognize that our leaders are human beings, and they're not robots, and they're gonna make mistakes, and they're gonna do good things. And I think we should just judge them on, do we think that they're making decisions with pure hearts? If they've got a pure heart, I can live with a mistake.
That's the one thing I have to say throughout all this. It's like Governor Cuomo will say, it's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about, let's all work together and get everything done. And you see how a lot of these governors, they are taking stances, and some of them, in Connecticut, I think, the governor said, oh wait, I want barbers and hairdressers just to wait 2 more weeks. And they're all in an uprising. And then like New Jersey will tell you, nobody's rushing to get their haircuts right away. Like, people are being smart about it or cautious. Let's put it that way. So, again, a large majority of people act appropriately. It's the people that don't act appropriately that this is what happens. And, like the bottom line is, you have to really become informed and not just rely on this or just on that. You have to really become informed, just read whatever and
Just
and form your own opinions about it.
And make sure you wash your hands.
And wash your hands and cover your mouth and wear your mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta
I wear my
mask.
I live in Brooklyn. It was a pretty, I've talked about it in the past. It was pretty intense here in Brooklyn for a while. So if I go outside, I walk the dog has to go, right? Take the dog out a couple times a day, I wear a mask. Go to the grocery store, I wear a mask and gloves. I then dispose of my gloves properly in a garbage can. You animals out there who are throwing their gloves in the street. And it's not a unique thing to New York City. You go online, it happens every state, every city in America.
Yeah, Suffolk County, right over here.
Animals are throwing their gloves and masks in the street. If anybody should be just taken and beaten, you want to go back to old school policing, like the 60s, where the cop gets out with his stick and just cracks someone in the head? I'd like a law that said the cop could just crack someone in the head for throwing their masks on the street.
Tone it down there, champ.
And
whoa, it's not the 80s.
Who has to clean that up? The guy at the supermarket who has to clean that up is probably making, $9 an hour if he's lucky.
And you know what his name is? It's probably not John or Charles.
Yeah, and the person who pulls up in the Audi wagon that costs $95,000 and just throws their gloves on the ground. You're a disgusting pig.
Let me tell you something, too, and I'm gonna Jerry lives in Brooklyn, and I would absolutely love to be able to live in one of the 5 boroughs, because I truly do love the city. I went to college in the city. I grew up basically in the city, and you know what? And Long Island, it's nice, but there's trash just like anywhere else, and there's bad places just like anywhere else. And the one person who made the biggest noise about absolutely nothing was the Nassau County supervisor who had to make an announcement to say city people can't come to the town beaches. You know what?
You don't want me in your beach, Michelle. I wear a Speedo. It's you're
No, but well, you know what? I would probably want you at my beach. You would do great, at field whatever. But the thing of it is like, out in Suffolk County where I live, I've always lived out here. I grew up out here. I've never gone to Jones. I think I went to Jones Beach twice and Robert Moses more than that. I've always gone to our town beaches, and you had to be a town resident. So this woman made a big deal about something that was already known. Don't worry. And so you made it more, de Blasio, he can't open the beaches. Can you imagine what would happen if he opened the beaches? So, how many kids would be drowning and stuff?
Well, I'll tell you something. So I actually don't want to name them because I'm not sure if we're supposed to do that or not. I was talking to someone who is a an executive level guy in the NYPD Harbor Unit. The NYPD Harbor Unit is really pumping up their summer detail this year.
Oh, yeah,
because they know with the beaches closed, think about all those kids who get saved by lifeguards at the beach swimming. There's got to be a couple hundred a year who get pulled out of the surf and saved. And now with no beaches open, people will be going swimming. They will be drowning, and the NYPD and the fire department, for the most part, with a little minor role, the Coast Guard will be having to rescue them night and day, 7 days a week. It's going to be a pretty sad sad year on the water in New York City if the beaches aren't open in a supervised way. We've been joined by a guest. We have Juan Galloway, who's the president of New York City Relief. New York City Relief has been around for over 30 years, and what they do is pretty amazing. They provide services to the homeless of New York City. Obviously, for our listeners and viewers who live in New York City, we know that the city has always had a substantial homeless problem, and it's gotten a little worse over the past few years. I think people around the country have started to learn about this as the coverage of the COVID crisis here in New York City being the epicenter in America for the COVID crisis. Juan Galloway, welcome to Inside Blue 360, the weekly roundup. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, I've seen your group in action. I used to be a cop in Midtown. Know what you guys do. You guys are providing social services. You're providing spiritual services. You're providing food. I saw that you provide socks, which is a big thing. My wife's a nurse, and she's had homeless patients, and she says usually the part of their body that's suffering the most is always their feet, and it's a big problem. And you're in your own little way, you're helping mitigate that. Could you tell us, first of all, I'm blown away that you guys are still out there doing this in the middle of COVID. Man, that is heroic work you're doing. How has COVID affected you guys? Well,
yeah. So in 31 years, we've never seen anything like this. It's unprecedented. We were already in a humanitarian crisis with 80,000 homeless people, largest homeless population in our nation. It was already a mess. But when this virus hit, it's like the rug got pulled out from under an already, at risk, at crisis population with our homeless neighbors. Many of the soup kitchens have been shut down. Obviously, all the restaurants, coffee shops, places you can go to the restroom, public restrooms, everything was shuttered, and it was still pretty cold. In fact, even just last week, I think it went below freezing again. So
yeah.
It has been a really terrible situation for people struggling with homelessness. And it almost seems like we were designed for such a time as this, to be honest, because we have always served outdoors. And so when they can't go indoors, here we are with these buses, which have been designed to distribute mass quantities of food in a very short amount of time. And all of that was put to the test. We had to scramble to handle the numbers. They exploded. We had lines down the block, around the corner, down the block, and then we're supposed to try to keep them socially, safely distanced. Not an easy task, but you know what? We have been doing that. We've been marking chalk marks or tape on the ground. As people learned the issues, they complied because they're grateful. Let me tell you, grateful that somebody can show up because they're hungry, they need socks, they need a mask, they need help. And so it has been a challenging season, maybe the most challenging in our history. I'll tell you, in the last 2 months, we served 16,700 meals to at least 12,000 guests. So that's double the number of meals and individuals. And we actually cut our outreaches, and we have 7 outreaches a week, so it's always busy anyway.
Have you run out of masks to the two mask populations, if you will, masks to give away and masks for your own people?
Yeah, first we could only do masks for our own people.
Right.
We're great. We were lucky to get that.
Okay.
Because everybody wanted masks and nobody had them. So fortunately, people stepped up, got us some PPE. Then as we got more, we've now been distributing thousands of masks, as well as hygiene kits, thousands of hygiene kits, because people don't have, if you don't have soap, you can't wash. And, you know, it's a recipe for spreading a disease, right?
Yeah. They can't wash their hands.
You shut the public restrooms and you have to go to the bathroom outdoors. How else could you better spread a disease than that, you know? So we've had to give out a lot of these really desperately needed items. And, you know, we've been partnering with so many people. A lot of organizations have really stepped up. Google funded some portable sinks for us to put on the street so people can wash their hands.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Right.
We had, you know, Doctors Without Borders has now set up 2 mobile showers in the city. First time in Manhattan this has happened, you know, so cool to see people stepping up and getting creative and innovative to partner with us.
I was going to ask you, has any medical group stepped into kind of cohabitate your space with you and screen the population you serve for COVID and offer them COVID services?
Like work together. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, we've actually, unfortunately, not yet is the answer. It's still emergency rooms, you know, taking care of the bulk of that, or these mobile, you know, hospitals they're setting up around the city. But we are talking to some of the hospitals about actually modifying one of our buses to become a COVID testing unit. And talking with engineers about how to modify our vehicles to make it safer. So still early talks, but people seem excited about the idea. Honestly, I haven't been able to get my own staff tested.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, frontlines workers aren't even getting tested. So it's opening up more. Just in the last 2 weeks. And I have one staff who did contract COVID, actually, and one of my interns contracted COVID. And one of my volunteers, and fortunately, they're recovering, all of them, or have fully recovered. But good. It's scary, for sure, very scary.
Yeah. Because you obviously, you're coming in contact with people who have COVID. If you're on the streets of New York City, you have to. So I'm glad to hear that your people are using PPE. They're using common sense. They're not touching their face. Right. I think I just touched my nose a second ago. You know, right. Do that. You know, it's hard to break these habits, right? I would imagine that your people were probably a little more in tune to that even before COVID hit, because obviously, you know, a lot of the people that you're serving are walking around sick and not getting the medical treatment that they need even before this happened. Walking wounded, kind of, so to speak. You know, just coming around and getting fed and getting other services you guys give. You know, this is going to last a long time. How do you keep the energy level up for yourself and for your people? You know,
it's difficult because we've been shorthanded, volunteer-wise. Some of our staff got sick, as I mentioned, so we've been shorthanded. So all of our admin people have been out on the front lines on the streets, and everyone on my staff has stepped up in one way or another, and you know, they're dealing with their own stress about worry for their family or themselves.
Right.
Then they're out serving people and trying to help them understand what they need to do to keep safe. And, you know, normally our buses, our outreaches, like I said, it's about 7 outreaches a week. And we distribute this food. By the way, soup, we say it's the best soup in the city. It's a lot. We serve 1,500 gallons of soup in the last 2 months.
Wow.
And it's nutritious, and it's filling, and fresh Portuguese rolls, and people love it.
Oh, yeah.
And it draws them in. But normally, food is means to an end. We use the food to draw them in. And we build these relationships so that we can do social work. We can do case management. We can help connect them to job training, medical care, detox, rehab, recovery services, all of that, we're working on the long-term homelessness issue to get them back on their feet again. But when the virus hit, when the pandemic hit, that went out the window. It's like these people are starving. Yeah. They need stocks. They need the basics to survive. And so we're beginning to adapt and do most of these. We call them life care visits when we do the social work kind of stuff. Now we're doing them on the phone because we can't.
Okay. Yeah.
We have an office inside of our bus, but we cannot welcome anybody inside that office. So now we're shifting that to more of a distance care for them. And the ones that have phones, it's working very well. In fact, the number of life care visits has gone up 29% in the last 2 months. So we have really upped our game. And so even our staff working from home are super busy because we have to let these people know where are the other food sites. Okay, because most of them shut down. So we'll tell them, the schools obviously giving out those prepackaged meals, but there's places giving to-go meals, hot food.
Yes.
There's the mobile showers. We're sending most of the people to those mobile showers or because we sent them to them. Because how else are they going to get the word out, right? There's no marketing. So we do the marketing to get them to what they need. And it's been a game changer for people. They're grateful because I'll tell you a few stories if it's okay, because these are mind-blowing stories.
Yeah, but that's why we're happy to have you.
That's
why we're letting you talk.
Yeah, a man came to us last week. He asked us for help with underwear. There's no places to get clothes. I mean, nowhere. We gave out in the last 2 months again, like 20,000 pairs of socks. Okay.
So, yes.
I want to jump in on the sock thing for a second.
Yeah. So
no.
Bomba socks. I don't know if you know Bomba.
About a year ago, my wife turned me on to Bomba socks. And she goes, "You should try these socks. They're great socks. They're absolutely the best socks I've ever worn. They're fantastic." So anybody who doesn't know, Bomba's story is that when you buy a pair of socks, they donate a pair of socks to a homeless person. And when I was a cop, sometimes Michelle can bear this out. You work 30, 40 straight hours. There's no showering. Changing your underwear. Maybe you can brush your teeth. Some people carry a little portable toothbrush. Usually just pop mints, basically, right, for freshening your breath. But I would carry a pair of socks, I swear to God. And like about halfway through that long shift, I would change my socks. It was like being a new man. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And I was like, so when I got turned on to Bombas, I was like, that's brilliant that homeless people need socks. Because they do need socks. And my wife's a nurse, so she thought it was great because I think I mentioned it before, because so many homeless population develop issues with their feet that just cascade throughout their body and make all kinds of problems. So I went to your website last night to do my homework in preparation to talk to you, and I saw that you had Bombas was a partner of yours. I was proud to see that. So you've probably gotten like a penny or two of my money, but I was glad to see that. So I know that they help out lots of people all over the country, not just
they do. They give out just incredible amounts, and like you said, they're the best engineered. These aren't just Walmart socks. I mean, I wear them every day. They don't wear out. Okay, I wear them every day. It's amazing, and so like I said, so people have nowhere to get clothes. We're working with Salvation Army and some other partners to try to get some clothes into the city. Okay. But this man came to us for underwear because, he had just gotten out of Rikers. He had been there 2 years. 2 years awaiting sentencing.
Yeah, they're not giving you underwear.
That's a whole issue in itself. Imagine being out of prison. You hit the streets. Everything's shuttered. Everything's closed. There's nowhere to go. You're like, your head's spinning. You don't know. I mean, I've talked to these guys, and they're crying. These are hardened, They're incarcerated, and they're weeping in front of me, and I'm like, could you please help me with some clothes? And I'm like, man, I wish I could. Here's some socks. Here's 2 pairs,
Yeah.
This man came to us, and he wanted underwear, and we're like, we're sorry, but you know what? We have some gift cards that were donated. We're going to give you this $25 gift card. This guy started crying. Yeah. And he's like, no, this is too much. He's telling us this is too much. And because, there's like a Target open. There's very few places, but he could go get some
right.
a couple of basics. And and so not only that, our social worker got his information, and we're going to work with him to get him, he's actually has benefits if he could just get help, like $4,000 waiting for him. That's hotel money. That's shelter money, basically, food money. So we were able to help him not only with that felt need at that moment, but the longer term help to get back on his feet. Another situation, a woman came to us last week. She had sunglasses on, and she said, "I need to talk in private." So we took her aside on the sidewalk, and she took off her sunglasses, and she was bruised. And she said, during the pandemic, my husband started drinking, as many I'm sure have, He tried to pimp me out to 2 other men. And she's like, why is he trying to do this to me after 8 years of marriage? And the men weren't interested. And so he started beating her, punching her, kicking her. The police came, took him aside and held, basically kind of had him, taken aside while she could get away. She went to a women's shelter. She couldn't get into the women's shelter because of COVID. So then she shows up to us, and she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm at risk from my husband, from men on the street. I have nowhere to go. And so we were able to get her into a shelter successfully because of our contacts. We were able to get her clothes because she had nothing. It was on her back. We were able to get her a phone. And this is one of the biggest breakthroughs we're starting to make. Is for those who don't have phones, that means they have no access to help.
Yes, that's very important.
So we got her phone, and it's got our number programmed in there with our social workers. And now we're working with her on a long-term basis to get her back on her feet in this time of crisis. And Doctors Without Borders just gave us a bunch of phones just for this purpose. So, so I see this as the future. It's something we're doing right now, but we don't know how long this pandemic new normal is going to last. Who knows, right? But in the long term, we've got to get these digital and technological means into people's hands. It's really a life or death thing. I mean, for people.
I'm going to guess that over the years, because you've been doing this a long time, you've learned how to think on your feet and come up with solutions to problems that you never thought that you would face. I'm guessing that those skills that you've developed over the years have helped you through this this crisis, because certainly this is something that I think I'm a little older than you, Juan. And either that or you look like you're
I'm 49. I'm almost 50.
Are you
nice?
50? Man, well, we should have you on for another show to talk about what you do health-wise, because obviously you're doing something right.
Good clean living, I call it.
That's right, and he does nice things for people. That's the best thing you can do is to pay it forward.
Yeah, you guys.
When you were talking about the clothes, that's very important because, I have everybody's home now, and we're going through our closets. I have a whole bunch of clothes, and my sister's like, yeah, but they closed the donation bins.
That's right.
In some places. And it's a shame because these are all clean and everything, and I can understand that, but it's like, there are people that need them. And, again, these are all gently used. I have no problem, but again, what do you, and that's when you mention that, it's true for anybody, to forget about underwear, but even regular clothes, it's not like you can go into Target and just get something,
Right.
Because
right. Yeah, Michelle, he was saying about
you
phones.
want to get food. If I got out of Rikers, honestly, I'd probably want to go get some food, and I'd get someplace to get myself set. Going to Target's I'd be using it for food, and I would be hoping that somebody would donate
Michelle,
clothes, because at that
let's
stage.
face facts. You and I, if we're buying clothes now, we're just going online, having it delivered by UPS or FedEx. Obviously, the homeless population can't do that. Of course they can't. Even if they have a gift card, they can't do that. Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing. Even when you go, even for them to go into Target or something, they're going to want to eat. What have they been eating over in Rikers, I mean, I know they have the Muslim Day even stuff and Taco Tuesdays, but still, it gets old.
Juan, how is it's been a major economic tsunami besides a medical tsunami that's hit the country. How donation has been going since this occurred?
Well, everything's been topsy-turvy. Fortunately, we've had some people step up, like Bombas, like Doctors Without Borders, even yesterday, Cutters. You know, Cutters like insect repellent.
Yeah.
They stepped up.
Yes.
They just gave us a sizable
That's important.
donation. They're actually making hand sanitizer now during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've had some people step up, but the truth is, there's kind of an influx as people, you know, feel the need. And then there's summer's coming. Summer is the worst time for nonprofits. So we're all like, oh, what are we going to do?
Yes.
Are we going to make it through the end of the year? And so we are asking people, and not just wealthy people, normal people, to step up and say, you know what, maybe I lost my job, but I can do $10 a month. I can do $20 a month. I can do something and out of my unemployment check, out of my tax rebate, whatever, right? My incentive money. So, you know, people are starting to do that, but that's what we're working on my end. Is like, we're trying to get the word out. Like, we need people to step up. Just do what you can, right? It's like, you know, not all of us are Oprah or Bill Gates. We can't write $1 million checks, but that's okay.
By the way, if Oprah or Bill Gates are watching, please write a giant check for Juan and his group. So how would our listeners, our viewers, those nickel and dime donors, the regular person, how can they reach your organization and step up?
So it's pretty simple. They can go to our website. It's the name of our organization. It's NewYorkCityRelief.org. And there's a lot of great information on there, so people can find out how to give, like you suggested. They can even set up a recurring donation, and that's why right now that's our big initiative, because those little donations do add up to a lot. So if we get 100 or 200 or 500 more donors at $20 a month or $50 a month, whatever they could do, you know, that's a long-term solution rather than one big check. You use it, it's gone. Right. We're asking just the average person, could you just, you know, make a regular investment, you know, in our work? And because not everybody, because of their compromised health, because their age, they can't come volunteer with us, but they could do something financially so that we keep buying those masks, those hygiene kits, the food that we need to distribute. It's not free. Somebody's got to pay for it. And so a lot of people are stepping up, but we need more. So NewYorkCityRelief.org is the place to go. And they can learn a lot more about us. There's great videos, stories, photos, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. And they can also sign up to volunteer.
We put up the links on our show. Go ahead, Michele. I'm sorry.
Juan, it's really important, you know, that you mentioned that, and I'll tell you why. I remember like a while ago, up until about 2 years ago, I used to work for Macy's, and they used to have, you know, even a lot of private companies, so to speak, and even the city does it as well. When you had to do you can pick to donate to whatever organization. You know what I'm saying?
A matching gift, right?
And I didn't do so if you want to do something in your community, you know, you do something in your community. If you want to do the ASPC, you know, the big ones. And that's what's really important, because out here is Long Island Harvest, whatever. And, you know, they do this, you know, very similar, but what you actually do more outreach for the homeless. And they were saying like they're getting short with like the food banks and everything, but that's what's really important. People can do this through their paychecks. They don't have to like, oh, I got another bill from this, you know, or feel guilty when you send them the little labels.
Yeah.
You know, like my dog gets them, you know, and I'm like, all right, let me just throw a few bucks just in case. You know what I'm saying? So it really can be done like that, very realistically, and it's a very small donation. You don't have to put a lot of money into it. I just wanted to say that, like even with the city employments, you know what I mean?
Like $20 a month is the cost of a Starbucks coffee once a week.
Right.
You know, really, that's what it is. So
because I just pulled up the website now.
You can sometimes get matching from your company.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Like they're literally maybe double it, you know what I mean, up to $5,000 or whatever they usually
right.
I have a friend from Bank of America who does that.
That's what it was. Like when I remember when I worked there, specifically Macy's, when I worked there, it came around that time and they gave you the list of whatever, and then they, you know, you can pick further who you wanted and they would match the donation. There's a lot of companies that do that.
A lot.
And you know, next to supporting local business, this is the best thing that you can do for your community. You know, I live on Long Island, like I said, and we have, you know, Long Island Harvest, that's out here as well. But then we also have the food pantries from churches that are running low. Everybody is running low.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we all have to help each other. And that's the thing. Once you start helping with somebody, it's contagious, you know?
I want to, you know, I just want to speak to exactly who you help. I spent my entire police career in Manhattan, and Manhattan is like a magnet for homeless persons.
Yep.
A magnet for everybody, actually. I guess if you're a homeless person, you're drawn there also, right?
Yep.
Used to deal with homeless all the time. You know, they would commit low-level crimes. You had to arrest them, or they were victims of crimes. You had to help them. They were victims of medical emergencies. You had to help them. And it's easy to walk past homeless people and kind of like create some kind of invisible wall between you and them and shut them out. There are people who had like a hiccup in their life, and that hiccup just disrupted them, and it caused all kinds of problems, and they just couldn't get back on track. And you know, if you're on track and your life is good, you know, I understand you might not want to catch a disease, or you might want to have something else happen to you. But you know, if you've got it, and you can afford that damn Starbucks coffee, once a week, or whatever that $5 is you spend in a week, or $10. I like a martini. A martini cost me $15 if a bar was open. Yeah, that's how much a martini costs. You know, if you can afford that, you should be looking out for the people who caught a bad break and didn't recover from it. And it's really nice to have you on the show. I have a feeling, Juan, that when your time comes, I don't know how many people are going to die on the day you die, but if there's 1,000 people, St. Peter's going to lean out. He's going to say, Juan, come up here in the front of the line, buddy.
That's right.
He's going to tell everybody else they got to wait a second.
You better hope it's the same day as me, because you'll just
going right in. There's no doubt about it.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring up kind of the spiritual side. We are a faith-based organization, and you know, we pray for people when they come to our buses. Now, right now, we can't touch them, hold hands, you know, that kind of thing. Before the pandemic, we were praying for about 24,000 people a year. And we're just normal people. Okay, we're not volunteers. You know, we're not all like priests or whatever. We're just normal people. But it was a way to, I guess, enter into almost like a place of intimacy with somebody where you're caring for them and showing sympathy, and also just asking God on their behalf for a blessing in their life. And so it really, prayer makes a difference, you know. Even the medical profession gets that nowadays. So we pray for a lot of people. We believe in the power of prayer. And, you know, when I think over 700 homeless people have been tested positive, and I think 80 now have passed. We need prayer now more than ever. And so I ask whoever's listening to this, would you please pray for our brothers and sisters, our neighbors on the streets? How would you like to be in their place? What would you like someone to do for you? Think of it that way, because I think we have to imagine, and I actually did this myself, guys, about 2 years ago. I went and lived on the streets in Manhattan for a week, and I slept on the subway. I slept in Port Authority on the floor. I begged every day. And so now I can imagine what they're going through. They can't beg for enough money to go get food because there's no one on the streets, right? They can't go sleep on the subway because they're sweeping the subways at night. They can't go to the shelter because sick people are all over that shelter with COVID. I mean, and so it's so easy to judge, but if we can try to place ourselves in their shoes and imagine if, you know, we lost our job, our spouse passed away, you know, some trauma in our life, and it usually was trauma. Maybe there was abuse in our childhood. I can't tell you how many people who are homeless have been abused physically, sexually, and they're damaged, and they need someone to walk with them into health, into life, into freedom. And so I think we all should pray. We all should give. We all should serve if we can volunteer. Anything we can do, we should do, because that's why we're on earth, as far as, that's what I think.
Sometimes people, like, exactly what you said, what you don't realize is, like, my niece actually works as an MTA cop, and she works with the homeless unit. And, and she was in Penn Station, and she worked with one of the units there when she first started. And, they had this woman that was a school teacher out here on Long Island, lost her job. And I believe, she was mentally ill and whatever, and they got her in. They started to give her help and a little bit. And, that's where the fine line is. Like, she was right there. But, then her mental illness kicked in, and what happened? She disappears. But, there's other people who aren't mentally ill that a simple kind act, or, maybe they're trying to get sober, or maybe they're trying to get rid of the drugs from their system. Okay. Yeah. And so they are at that point where they, and I know any of us can imagine what it's like to wake up with the absolute worst hangover and feel horrible about it. But you do it every single day, and everybody in your family hates you, and you end up going out and you're trying to rebuild your life. If not everybody can go to rehab, can go to the Malibu rehab, so they rely on like AA meetings or 12-step meetings and things like and organizations like this that put people, they don't just give them a new pair of clothes and send them on their way, but they set them up, they bring up their self-esteem. And that's what really the most important thing is. During the pandemic, nobody can do this, but I've heard of organizations, hey, you know what we're going to do? We find a barber, we clean this guy up a little bit. Sometimes it's just a matter of self-esteem, because I've been in that spot where everybody's like, yeah, you're going to stop? Okay, let's see what happens this time. I know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to be homeless, but I know what it's like to be at that, oops, I made a big mistake now, So, I mean, things like that, it's really important that organizations like yours exist. It's very important.
I'm wondering, obviously you have a lot of, you see the same person and all of a sudden they're not coming around, and you hear through the grapevine they passed away or something terrible happened to them. But I'm guessing you've been surprised by some success stories. Someone's walked up and you're like, I think I know this person from somewhere, but they look completely different now. That must happen to you.
Yeah, I'll tell you a good police officer story. Just happened to me, I guess about 3 weeks ago. I was Lower Manhattan. We were actually doing an outreach right in front of the Bowery Mission, so around Bowery. And there's a police car there. And one of the officers got out and was kind of walking around the area. And they were keeping an eye on the line, just keeping us safe. And so I just went up to introduce myself, and we had on everything. And he said, we just got to know each other. His name was Officer Woody. And he said, I used to be homeless myself. And I was like, because he looked great. I was like, you're kidding me. Yeah. He said, just a couple blocks away, I was asleep on a bench. I was 18 years old. My mother and my family moved out of town to Colorado or somewhere. And I was here all by myself in the apartment. And of course, I came back and the apartment was locked one day because he doesn't have a job. He's just a kid out of high school. And he became homeless. And he would spend his days playing basketball in the park. Yeah. Just to do something. And several people in that season, strangers, walked up to him. One woman came up to him on the bench and said, what's going on? And you shouldn't live like this. You don't have to be like this. And she gave him some opportunities. Right. And then he was playing basketball, and a guy saw him playing basketball and said, you're pretty good, but are you really willing to work hard? And he goes, I would kill myself trying to, make it. Yeah. Opportunity. That guy got him into professional basketball in I'm trying to remember. It was like South America or something. Yeah. It was like, and he went and played professionally. Then he went and played in Spain professionally. Yes. Wow. Yeah. So he's traveling the world. Okay. And so now today he's married. He's got 2 kids. He just bought his first house in Staten Island. Yep. He's like, he comes home every day and he's like, look at this great, even his wife is a corrections officer. And
Wow.
I was just like, man, can I share your story, Officer Woody? He goes, yeah, absolutely. I don't hide it. I'm not ashamed. And so I've been telling that story. I took a photo with him, and then I met his partner in the car. She's a detective. Turns out
What
she's
precinct
also,
is he in?
what's that?
Was it the 9th?
I wish I could remember.
Because the Bowery, I'm always down by the Bowery Mission. I've actually done a few comedy shows there for the at night. Yeah. And that place, and they were the coolest audience. Let me tell you something. They were still hardened, a little hardened, but really, really cool. And I actually heard that it's really, this is another thing too. The ICO of, I think it was the 9th precinct, has his car washed by some of the homeless people out there, you know, and I guess takes care of them a little, but you know, it's important that's what's like so nice about it. You know, all this stuff that you just mentioned, it's great. And
That's a
you know,
great,
that you
that's
can,
a great story. Yeah.
yeah.
That was a great story. I mean,
And
that guy was all the way down here to play in Spain, which is high level basketball. That's no joke.
it is high level. A lot of
Yeah.
retired NBA guys go over there, or in between. Yeah, that's a phenomenal story.
And actually,
But
that's a great story just to show that, right, he had a hiccup, like I was mentioning before. He had a hiccup. He, his life went off the rails. Someone put him back on the rails. And now he's living, that's the American dream. Him and his wife have those civil service jobs, those going to have pensions. They got the house in Staten Island. He's, you know, by the way, Staten Island, I don't know if you've ever done any work over there. That means he's keeping his lawn really nice, and you know, he's doing it. I'm glad that he came up and spoke to you. That's like really cool.
They're really cool down there. I have to say they're so cool down there because I do stand-up comedy there. And one time they sent somebody, one of the clubs they got kicked out of, and so the cops go to this place over here, and it was like, it's probably not the same guy. Like, that's what's really important too. It's like that everybody needs to be involved, you know, and he has a personal story that he can share. Like I said, you know, there's ways of helping out people that you give them some self-esteem. Sometimes just throwing them, you know, clothes. Like, again, you want to start to build them up and get some of their life skills and their personal, you know, then that's why it's really important that, again, he came from that neighborhood and he's giving back to that neighborhood, basically what it is. And that's what's so important. You don't have to be an NBA star or a baseball star. You can just do something simple like that.
Hey, I guess we should start probably wrapping it up. So, Juan, I definitely want you to repeat the website again.
Absolutely.
I want people to know where they can go to learn more about your organization. And more importantly, I really don't care if they learn about your organization. I want them to give because, as you said, the summer months are coming. We have a pandemic. We have a recession going on. If you've got a job, you've got a couple bucks in your pocket, even if you don't have a job right now and you got a buck or two, don't buy the coffee, don't buy the martini, do the right thing, and make a donation. Please, Juan, take it away.
Yeah, the website is newyorkcityrelief.org. And the cool thing is people can give via credit card. It's done. Boom. They can automate it. They fill it out. It's done. It'll repeat every month if they want, you know. So it's a great way to give back. You know, the Bible says you reap what you sow, you know.
That's right.
And when you're good to others, God is good to you. That's just the way.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Juan.
And I think it's important to remember, you know, sometimes we think of the homeless as the other, but I think this pandemic, if it has revealed anything to us, is we are all the same. We're all in this together. We're all neighbors. And that if we don't flatten the curve amongst our homeless neighbors, we're not going to flatten the curve for us. It's just going to keep going. We've got to do something to bring change for them. And it's good for all of us. We're one big family.
100%. 100%. Listen, you've been a great guest.
Thank you so much, Juan.
Yeah, I was blown away by your stories. I can't believe you lived on a street like you did. That's commitment. God bless what you're doing. You're right. They're people, and we need to see them as people. And if we have the ability to help, especially during these really, really tough times that we're all going through, we should be stepping up and helping as much as we can. Michele, please take us out, Michele. I know you got something you want to say, please.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to thank you, Juan. I tell you, I really admire you, and then it's a big thing. even if you, you know, there's people here that they are affected, but their big effect is that they're working from home, you know. So I see the lines of Starbucks by my house. You can't even get near the drive-through. McDonald's, Taco Bell, so you can throw a few bucks in if you got, you know what I'm saying. If you got money to spend at Taco Bell, come on. And McDonald's, the lines are huge. That's what I'm saying, and that's what bothers me.
And we'll put
there's
the
a lot of
website
homeless
up,
people
and
everywhere.
we'll hyperlink it, and we'll have it on our website and all of our social media platforms as well. And we'll link your social media platforms as well. And we wish you the very best. And I guess I'm Sergeant Jerry, and please, Michele, take us out to close the show, please, as you always do.
Listen, guys, this is Michele, and this week on Sunday night, 7:00, we have a little Zoom comedy show going on for Memorial Day. You know what? Everybody should stay safe and stay at home. They have the link up on our website here. It's free. You just got to register. You pop in. We have Bill Cannon and Mark DeMeo, and then we have another special guest. He's a really cool comic, and I like him, and that's why he's on the show, because that's how I do. But guys, listen, stay safe. Be nice to everybody. Try not. Everybody's getting heated. Wear your mask, 6 feet away, whatever you have to do. Enjoy things safely, and have a great day and a great week, and we'll see you next week.